Imagine it is Christmas Day, 1991. It's cold in Moscow. On top of the Kremlin, the famous red flag with the hammer and sickle is lowered for the very last time. A few minutes later, a different flag, the Russian tricolor, is raised up. Just like that, quietly and quickly, one of the biggest, most powerful empires in human history just stopped existing. This was the Soviet Union, often called the USSR. For decades, it was a superpower. It had huge armies, thousands of nuclear weapons, and it sent the first human into space. To the outside world, it looked unbreakable. But on the inside, deep cracks had been growing for a long time. Today, we're going to walk through the real story of why this giant structure fell apart. Not with a bang, but with a whimper. To understand the fall, we first have to look at daily life for regular people. The Soviet Union had a communist system where the government owned almost everything. They decided what factories made, how many shoes were produced, and how much bread cost. By the 1980s, this system was really struggling. The government was spending enormous amounts of money on its military and space rockets to keep up with its main rival, the United States. But because they spent so much on guns and rockets, they weren't making enough basic things for their people. Imagine going to a grocery store, and the shelves are mostly bare. You might have to stand in a long line for 2 hours just to buy some sausages or toilet paper. And sometimes, when you got to the front of the line, there was nothing left. Life was gray, hard, and people were very tired of it. Then there was the political problem. For a long time, the country was run by very old men who were afraid of change. People weren't allowed to speak freely against the government. If you did, you could lose your job or go to prison. So, everyone just kept quiet and pretended things were okay, even though they knew the system was broken. In 1985, everything started to change. A new, younger leader took charge. His name was Mikhail Gorbachev. He could see the country was in big trouble. He realized they couldn't keep spending so much money on weapons while their people had no food. So, Gorbachev tried two big new ideas. His first idea was basically openness. He decided to let people speak more freely and let newspapers report on real problems. His second idea was restructuring. He tried to change the economy to make it work better, even allowing a tiny bit of private business. Gorbachev really wanted to save the Soviet system by fixing it. But these changes didn't save the system. They actually sped up its collapse. Here's why. Once people were allowed to speak, they didn't just talk about fixing nice things. They complained loudly. They expressed decades of anger. They learned about dark secrets from their history that the government had hidden. You also have to remember that the Soviet Union wasn't just one country. It was made up of 15 different republics. Places like Ukraine, the Baltic states, and Georgia had their own languages, cultures, and histories. For years, the central government in Moscow kept them tightly under control. But once Gorbachev loosened his grip and allowed openness, these places started demanding freedom. They didn't want to be managed by Moscow anymore. They wanted to be their own independent countries. Gorbachev lost control of the situation. The economic changes didn't work fast enough, and life actually got harder for a while. The different parts of the empire realized they had a chance to leave, so they took it. By December of 1991, the leaders of these republics agreed the Soviet Union was over. Gorbachev resigned, and the country ceased to exist. The fall of the Soviet Union is really important today because it completely changed the world map overnight. It created 15 new independent nations. Many of the tensions we see in world news right now, especially in Eastern Europe, go back to that moment when the empire broke apart and borders were redrawn. The Soviet Union didn't fall because it was attacked from the outside. It fell because its economy didn't work for its people, and when those people were finally allowed to speak up, they chose to walk away. It's a powerful reminder that even the strongest looking things can be very fragile on the inside.